All right. All right. So let me bring up our document. So today is the March 4th architecture meeting. I do have to share my screen, which does help. Let me know if I lock up on the screen sharing. I've been having issues lately with that. So let me grab our regular attendee list. Give me 1 second here. So how did everybody that was on last week or last time with our TOC, how did you guys think that went? Sasha, I think you were there.
I was there, yeah. I've just been studying the whole day, so I'm just trying to get my brain to start working again. I think it went really well, as far as I can remember. Yeah, nothing there.
Yeah. So it's a good group of people, and it's interesting to get some insights from some of these really large companies like Netflix that have 5,000 microservices at that level. So let me bring up this guy. So one of the things that, go to it. Of course, Zoom gets in the way of everything. I swear the people that wrote Zoom have the smartest AI to figure out how to get in the way that you are trying to do your work. So just a review of the service catalog. This is what we're going to be going forward with initially. It doesn't look like there are any other comments on this, so I'm going to go ahead and start creating the issues so we can start implementing this. So that will be the main thing, is to get the issues created. What we'll do is anything new, we'll kind of do a mix of anything new will go into a microservice, and we'll stick with Python for now. I know there's a couple people that wanted to do Golang, but we'll stick with Python for these a couple until we get our feet underneath us and we get the whole process in place. The GUI side, the changes that we have to the UI, will still, like around the details box, that will be in JavaScript and jQuery. That's going to have to happen on that side. So what I'll do is I'll break it out so that it's easy enough for people to work isolated in their microservice to be able to get the data that we need to bring it back as part of that process. We are going to need to do some investigation on what is, go back to this guy, on the Cyclone DX tools and the dependency tracker. So one of the things I want to do is add in scanning for licenses and CVEs at the container level. This happens typically as a step in the build process. So when you're doing your Docker build, that you insert these tools in there. So if we can get a good foundation and some directions of how people can implement those into their Docker builds, and we can collect that information as part of it. We know that not everybody's going to be using like Cyclone and dependency tracker. Commercial tools like SNCC will be used. But a lot of that will be already in the company's pipeline, and we'll just need to pick up where that data is coming from as part of that process.
So Steve, can you? I have a question. So is Cyclone DX a part of what we think that the what we're calling now the service catalog features need?
it is one of the service features needs. So the high level that we have, let me go up to the top, is most of these fields we already have, like build URL, build ID, Docker stuff, the commits, the owner email, owner phone number, we can grab from the owner object. New ones that we need to add in are going to be like the Slack channel, Discord channel, if they're using HipChat, any PagerDuty use service or business service links. And then if anybody's familiar with any of the runtime logs, like coming out of Prometheus, how we can link to those logs for a service, we'll need to get information from you on how we can bring that log URL in. And then transaction logs are going to come like from, I believe it's Grafana or Chiali, mapping out the transactions. And there's a couple other open source transaction log. And then this is where I'm talking about the container image dependencies.
I see. Okay.
Where we're actually looking into the container and grabbing package information about what's in the container. Now, we'll have to figure out the terminology around this because every single language decides to use something different. I believe Node.js is a package, Python it's a module, Golang, I think it's a module. I could be wrong on that. So there's there's these different dependencies. So we'll have to come up with some sort of terminology that we can link those coding, those sub dependencies into the application. So some of the new boxes that we'll have on the screen pertaining to this lower level detail is going to be like the runtime logs. Like I was saying at the TOC meeting last time, we end up with this end-to-end kind of relationship. So you can have, for example, a runtime log, you can have a QA environment, and the QA environment could have multiple clusters in it. And then each cluster for that service is going to have a particular log. So we have this end-to-end relationship that we kind of need to map out. And then if you have like 17 QA environments and multiple endpoints in every QA environment, this list gets pretty long, but it's going to be very useful for people to drive right in to find out, find the location where they need to look if something's broken. And then on the component image dependency section, this is where we actually start looking at the packages that are inside the container, what version they are, and then what their license and their severity and their CVE. And the goal is to take all this information, especially like this type of information, and roll it up to the application. So you can be able to look at an application and look at all the licenses to see if you brought in some license that is like a GNU license that you don't want. And that's going to be driving the what is it called? Not provisioning. I'll think of it later. But basically to see if we're in compliance at that level. So that's kind of where we're headed. Does that make sense, Tracy?
Yeah, I think this is a really good first kind of big rocks project.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'll lay out what we have going on in the issues. I'll tag them. I believe we can tag them as a project. If not, we can tag them as a milestone. I just can't remember. I have to see what the GitHub projects is all about. If we can group the issues based on a project. Has anybody ever used GitHub projects? Okay. It'll be new uncharted territory on that side. And then if not, we'll use milestones to hook together the issues. Let's see what else we have. The website is up and going. Been tweaking a few little changes here and there, getting some of the base README stuff in front of that. We do need to look at the probably run a markdown lint on the pages just to make sure that we're clean. So when people merge and stuff, it's not we're not having major issues on that front. Actually, let me go ahead and merge that. I'll fix that before I merge it. So go ahead, if you see anything with the website, we're up and running, so you can create a pull request and pull things in. This pull request is to update the README. That's the original one. So this pull request will fix that. Yeah, Chris.
Can you clarify what you're looking for in terms of CSS? My understanding was that Hugo had themes, and if we wanted it a different sort of pretty, we should just click on a different theme. Are we actually trying to do custom CSS stuff, or what's the story?
Yeah, so the story is there are themes. The themes that we're using is Doxy. Doxy is the theme that's mainly set up for documentation. And that seemed to be a good fit. This is what the theme that Kubernetes is using. So a lot of what we're doing here is copied off of the kubernetes.io website. In the content is going to be in the EN folder, and Sergio is going to start working on the Spanish version as well. So this is where, like, if you want to create a blog around GitOps, that's where that markdown is going to go. Now, if we, on the theme side, it is the way Hugo works is we get to do overrides, and I believe it's going to be in two places: the assets, which is going to be the base CSS is where we did tweaking on some of the layouts, like the logo here. Those type of things happen as overrides at this level. So this part where we have all the columns, centering columns and tables and things like that is what we did for CSS overrides in the assets. I'm trying not to change anything in the themes, because if we need to get an update on the theme, we don't have to do merges at that level. The other folder, I believe, is going to be static. And this is where, like, the images are. So all the images are for the page are out here in the static directory. Does that help?
Yeah, so we're pretty much locked into the Doxy theme then.
Yeah, and because we get to do the overrides, we can, and there's also a layout section. So like if you want to change like the way something looks, like the home page is off of the hero. So this is where you can do additional overrides. The other thing we had to do was put in some short codes to deal with our podcast, which is Buzzsprout, to bring that in as a as an iframe, and same with some of the videos. So what these are is just little HTML snippets that all the variables get substituted, and it actually ends up generating your div as part of that. So it's kind of handy. It allows you to be reused. So this one is actually used for our Zoom background section. Some of the other short codes that we have are around like dealing with features, which are multiple boxes on the same row, tables, whether we want the table to be centered on the page, and another table layout that we have to deal with, I believe, images in the table. So because we can do these short codes and the partials, we can basically do anything we want with the layout. And we can steal, if we find another theme that we like like the blog layout, we can put that into our layout and override the Doxy one. So that's kind of how it all of it kind of fits together.
Cool. Thanks for the details, Steve.
Yeah, and we're gonna go through next Thursday. I'm gonna go through in detail how this is all laid out. So next Thursday, I believe at 8:30. Kind of walk through the whole layout, how things are fit together in much more detail. But this is like the high level for today. So we will need to get some people to start picking up some issues for coding. Like I said, most of the coding that we're going to be doing is going to be in Python and JavaScript. The JavaScript part is a little bit more difficult because it's served up by the Tomcat piece, the monolithic piece of Ortelius. So you have to have an Eclipse environment and run that Eclipse environment, Java in your Eclipse environment to make sure you can load up Tomcat in a development world. If you want to venture down that road, let me know. It takes a little bit to set up, and I'm willing to help anybody that wants to go there. But what I like to do is anything new is to, like I said, break it out into the Python microservices at that part. It looks like we have a few new people.
We do.
So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Aditi, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Aditi and I'm from India. Last week I had a meeting with Tracy about this Ortelius project. So it interested me a lot, and I'm currently an undergraduate. I am still completing my graduation, but I have a lot of interest in open source. So I want to start my open source journey from this project. So it would be great learning from you all.
Nice. And what languages, like programming languages, are you? What's your favorite one? Put it that way.
Yeah, Python. I'm comfortable in Python.
Okay, perfect. And it looks like we have, thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
And if you please reach out to the Discord channel if you need any help getting anything set up or started, or like Sasha that takes down all of GitHub one night.
Yeah, I pinged on the Discord channel as well when the day I joined. Then you sent the GitHub link to add the name as a contributor.
Perfect.
So yeah.
And then Ashish.
Hi everyone. Hi, so I am like a potential mentor, you can say, to the Project Deploy Hub, especially in the AI/ML part. I have completed, I have started my open source journey with Google Summer of Code program at CERN organization, where I worked on a project called Generative Adversarial Networks for particle physics applications. That's where I started. Then I moved on to TensorFlow organization for mentoring high school students during the Google coding program. So that's some of my open source journey. I like to code in multiple programming languages, especially ranked order is Python, JavaScript, then C++. I also am proficient in website development, but not much interested in it. Still, I am very interested in working on the project Deploy Hub. Even I would be really glad to contribute to other projects as well in the domain of my expertise, if I can. Yeah.
So I've been looking for someone who's, you know, wants to be a specialist in data science to start looking at our database and what kind of predictive analysis we can start doing, what kind of pattern matching. And she came through the CD Foundation, and I grabbed him as soon as I could. He said he was happy to be a mentor, and I looked at his what his current background was and what he's studying. And then Aaron, I'm not sure which Aaron it is. Is this Aaron Brooker?
This is Aaron Brooker.
Oh, okay, great. You're coming in as a guest. I'm not sure if you have. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? But I thought that you may have chatted with us before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
been on several of the meetings, but yeah,
Yeah.
I basically bring microservice, SRE, information security background into a lot of it, and a lot of knowledge into really AWS and heavy Kubernetes knowledge. So anything I can do to help. I'm not a Python guy, so I can. I'm more of a Golang person, or even just flat out Java. So
Oh, there's plenty of Java work to be done. So,
It's ugly though. I may be bugging you later because there's a I ran into a situation where somebody is trying to run Ortelius in Kubernetes on EKS, and they didn't do a volume mount. So they did all this setup, and we updated the image, and they lost all their work that they did because they persisted the database in the container. So I may be,
okay.
I may be, yeah, I don't know why they went there, but I may need some, maybe bugging around some volume claim stuff.
Yeah,
on EKS.
I would. What's funny is I have Raspberry Pi cluster, and I work on EKS, and I was literally doing NFS external client stuff set up for a startup I'm trying to help some people work on. That's on the side too. And it's like, so any of that, yeah, anything I can help with, feel free to reach out.
All right, cool. So that's thank you everybody and the new folks and everybody else that's been coming. Did I miss anything, or did I cover everything that we got going on?
no, I think that, you know, I think there's two things. Starting April 1st, we really want to get this first big project in the works. And we have a time change coming up. So I don't know what the time change looks like in Pakistan and in India. Do you guys do a time change? You don't.
Only North America does daylight.
So we're gonna next we change times. We move forward an hour on the 14th. So the next call we'll have this. Just be aware that this meeting should show up correctly on your calendar, but it will be an hour off. We move forward in the spring.
Shouldn't affect you guys, but you know, we'll be, like I said,
Well,
the calendaring, the Google Calendar invite should adjust automatically, but just a heads up. There's a lot of the other open source SIGs that don't use Google Calendar invites for some reason. So they sit there and try to figure out, you know, how many hours are off at every single time zone for every single member in the.
Yeah, they don't use the Google Groups, which I don't know why, because that does help allow everybody to find the documents and whatnot. They've put it in the README, and you have to try to go down where the meeting is. And that's all I had.
And like I said, next Thursday, let me double check the time. I believe you guys, I saw a bunch of you accept the invite around getting to know the website. Let me just double check if it's. Come on, Google. Yeah, so it's going to be, well, it's going to be 8:30 Mountain Time instead of 8 o'clock Mountain Time.
Right.
So it'll just be a half hour later than this one. Alrighty.
Tracy, for G-Shock, like, are we going to have slots or not? Because I think so. Like in the last call, we had talked that I heard that we are only that CD Foundation is going to have only 4 slots or something like that.
Yeah,
Software.
so I was on the and you guys are welcome to the CDF TOC meetings, any of the CDF SIGs and things like that as well. They were talking that they were submitting 20 mentors to GSOC across all the projects, and they were hoping, because we had so many mentors, that we will be able to get a decent number of people to that we can spread out, you know, a student to each one of the projects, or a couple to all the projects. But it's up in the air because it's all in Google's hands now.
Okay.
We are doing the She Code Africa, so that's going to be I think we'll get better luck on that one because DeployHub is going to be sponsoring it. We'll be able to mentor at least 1 or 2 people out of She Code Africa.
So like, do we have to fill up some form or sign up somewhere for this She Code Africa?
Yeah, yeah, I've got it, and I just have to submit us as a project. They're not quite as picky as GSOC. They're not asking for mentor names ahead of time. But I'll get that taken care of. I have a meeting with the woman who manages it on Friday.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay, cool. Well, thank you, everybody. And I will get furiously creating issues here. And we'll be off and running here soon.
Awesome.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. Thank
Thanks,
you, everybody.
Steve.
Have a good rest of the week.
You too.
Thank you.
All right.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.